Greetings to all of our listeners out there, and welcome once again to Service Matters, a weekly radio show that likes to talk about the good things that happen in local communities and beyond. We also like to talk about people who do terrific things in their community above and beyond their work, jobs, or family time. You're listening, folks, to WPRO, the voice of Southern New England. You can hear us on AM 630 or FM 99.7. And today, Val, we have an exciting guest that we're going to introduce shortly. But I know that when you think about all the good things that happen around, we don't talk enough about them. We have a lot of crazy things happen because the world's gotten a little crazy as a result. I'm Dave Clifton.
And I'm Valerie Perry.
And we'll be with you for the next hour. You can hear us on Saturday from 5 to 6 p.m. Please join us each week as we talk about things that good people do to make a difference in their local communities and beyond. I would like to introduce our guest today, Val. He's a longtime Rotary leader. He's from Rotary District 7950. He served as a district governor during the year 2005, 2006.
0405, the centennial year.
Okay, the centennial year.
Yep.
That should be an easy one to remember. And he's got an interesting last name. And certainly, I hope that throughout the show that I'll pronounce it appropriately, just like I were doing a football or basketball game. Getting the names correct is always important. Kaliszewski.
Perfect.
Is his name. And of course, he is in the financial business, has been. He's not a first-time visitor to our station. And what's interesting today, Carl and Val, is the fact that we not only have a listening audience at WPRO Radio, but we also have a viewing audience here at ECAT, Eastern Community Access Television. We thank our producer back at the radio station in Providence, Brett Ferruccio, for pushing the right buttons for us. And of course, we got a guy here right in the studio, and we're honored to be able to do the radio show here in the studio as they televise radio. Adam Carrero, he has been absolutely terrific. So we got people pushing buttons so that we can not only do a broadcast, but a telecast. Thank you, Carl, so much for joining Val and I here on WPRO.
Well, Dave and Val, thanks for the opportunity. It's been a while. I think it was before COVID that I was on your show previously, and it's great to be able to be back just to chat about, as you say, some of the good things in life, some of the good things, the great things, and the happy things, rather than the tragedies that we hear in everyday news and on the news stations and so forth. And I always am in wonderment about the fact that people turn in to find out all of the tragedies where there's fires and accidents and murders and what have you.
One after another.
And I just give you and Val credit for shedding a ray of hope, as we do in Rotary so many times, about the good things. And I think there should be more programs dedicated to great things that people do, because so many times they're tucked under the carpet, and it doesn't give us that ray of hope that, as you said, in today's world, so many people need some type of a thing to hold on to, and just being bombarded by the negativity and the negative things we hear on the news. We hear about it in politics. We hear about it in our world, in our local communities, and people are stressed out. And I think that the opportunity to be able to share positive things, as you mentioned and Val mentioned so many times, is really great to be able to share with the listeners. And to your listeners, I want to thank you for listening to Dave and Val. I wish I could be here, and I'd love to be here more often, because if you listen, share some of the good stories that Dave and Val and some of the guests that they have, because I'm sure they're always very interesting.
Well, you think about 13 years on the air, and we've had thousands of guests. And today we have someone, Val, who has a cowboy hat on. The folks who are watching this on TV, he doesn't come from Texas. Tell us exactly where you do come from.
Well, my home, I live with my wife, Ann, in Hopkinton, Massachusetts. I'm originally from a small town in central Mass called Webster, Massachusetts, where I grew up, went to Catholic school at St. Joseph's Grammar School in Webster, and then went to St. Mary's High School. But I'm a proud graduate of UMass Amherst, University of Massachusetts in Amherst, cum laude.
And you got a nice voice for radio. I'm not surprised you're from Webster because you could probably repeat the Webster dictionary. But I did want to say both Val and I, as past district governors out of District 7950, and you're from 7910.
Yep.
And of course, I had a chance to visit your district not too long ago and had the honor of inducting your new district governor, who actually came from my hometown, Sharon, Massachusetts. Of course, I now live in Easton.
Yep.
But I always remember my Rotary career, and it still continues, over 50 years as a Rotarian. How about you, Val? How long have you been a Rotarian, and what year did you serve as district governor?
Well, I joined Rotary at the end of 2001, so it's 22 years now, and I became district governor in 2014.
What was your president's theme?
What's that? My theme, Light Up Rotary.
Light Up Rotary. And how about you, Cal?
Well, it was the centennial year, so it was Celebrate Rotary.
And mine was Rotary Shares. They share their time, their talent, their ideas, their resources, and in many cases, even their funds.
Sure.
I keep thinking about funds because he's in a financial category with the cowboy hat. Tell us something about your district governor who just recently took office as of July 1st.
Correct. Well, Elliot really is a spark plug for the district. When the pandemic hit and it affected all organizations, whether it be the civic organizations, church communities, or what have you, and the world shut down realistically for a number of years, and it was tough for organizations to meet. And now there's a revival. People are starting to get back together again. It's funny how when I go to a restaurant now and I don't have to have that panel in front of me or wear a mask to be able to go out. I got to tell you a quick little story, a fun one, because I wear the cowboy hat. And when we were mandated to wear the masks, the first time that I went to my local bank, and I went to the teller and I said, this is the first time I'm able to walk up with a cowboy hat and a mask on and not be carted off to jail. So it was quite. They laughed about that one. But the pandemic hurt so many organizations, and one of the things I think we'll talk about a little bit later is our not only our local district governor, but the Rotary International president. President Gordon, who this year has the theme for Rotary called Create Hope in the World, which is the theme every year. Our Rotary year, by the way, ladies and gentlemen, begins on June 1st and goes to July 1st, yeah, and goes to June 30th of the following year. So July 1st, the new incoming president has a theme for the year. This year, Create Hope in the World. And boy, what a great theme that one is. But he wants to concentrate a lot also on mental health, which has been shoved under the rug for so many years about people that have mental incapacities or challenges or what have you. And that's just one particular area of Rotary that I hope that maybe we can touch on a little bit later, Dave and Val.
I know that for you folks out there, whether you're watching on TV or maybe radio, Rotary is a worldwide humanitarian organization of men and women, business and professional people united together to serve. Our motto, service above self, and our mission is to do good in the community and to reach beyond to do good in the world. Val, you've been a Rotarian, and what's amazing about you, you've been a president 5 times, or is this your 6th this year? Tell us about it.
Well, how many times I've been president?
Yes.
This is my fifth, although I'm a co-president right now. But when I first became president, in fact, you were my second district governor. I was president for 3 years in a row, and 06, 07, 07, 08, and 08, 09. So you were 07, 08. You were my district governor at the time. But then I became president after I served as district governor. I went back as president of my club, and now I'm co-president again. So this is what happens when you have a small club, and we're working right now in our club to get the leadership, start getting people in a leader's capacity so that we can have other people start taking over now, which is very important.
It's interesting. You've been president 5 times in Rotary. Maybe the time has come for you to run for president of our great country.
No, I don't think so.
You may get some votes. But I did want to mention that one of the good things about talking about Rotary is the fact that Rotary's done a lot of positive things over the years and continues to do so. That doesn't take anything away from the Lions Club or the Kiwanis, even Toastmasters. They all do good things, and there's room for everybody in a local community. But Rotary certainly has been very special. It's not the only thing we talk about on the air on WPRO, but Rotary does come up once in a while when we have a guest like you who is a past district governor. But I think it's important to remind our audience that if you have some good things that have happened in your community and your family, we'd like to know about that. We'd like to be able to give that person a pat in the back. I always remember that woman that told us her son saved a person as a lifeguard. Well, it's nice to be able to talk about that. Or the police officer who did CPR on someone who was at an accident. Or that gentleman who paid for the groceries for the family in front of him. She couldn't find her wallet, and he stepped up to the plate and did something very special. So I know that when you think about Rotary, you have to think about Lions. They have a theme, we serve, and our motto in Rotary is service above self. So we have a lot in common, and we're going to have to get ready to take a break. And when we come back, we have a question I'd like to talk to both Val and you about, and that question is, what is one of the most unusual or most embarrassing thing that ever happened to you over the years? And I'll start it off when I come back. There's a couple that I can think of. And we'll take a short break. You're listening to WPRO, the voice of Southern New England. We thank all of our viewers watching ECAT, Eastern Community Access Television. This is Service Matters. Hurry back.
Don't have time to sit down and watch ECAT programs? Don't worry, ECAT has got you covered. That's right, ECAT has
podcasts!
Yes. ECAT Podcast Channel has your favorite shows that you could listen to. Whether you want to chill and listen to the Ron Van Dam Show and hear him talk about what's bothering him that day, or the show hosted by local legends Stephanie Weinstein and Meredith Keach, where they talk about anything and everything, or take a listen to the weekly news hosted by Jack Ryan and Abby Kitchenham. Stay tuned in with Tiger Talk hosted by Oliver Ames students. Community Forum is where their host Priscilla talks about all things Easton. Easton residents can also find government meetings about various topics. You can find the podcast on Podbean and all your favorite podcast platforms. Just by searching ECAT or the ECAT Podcast, you can find it all. The ECAT Podcast channel is powered by Podbean, so either in the car ride or walking around town, you can always catch what's going on with ECAT. Happy listening!
Good evening and welcome to another edition of For the Love of Words. After a 3-year hiatus, join me, John Holgerson, and
Priscilla Almquist Olson,
as we interview poets and musicians. Could you give the audience a little summary of your background as a child?
When I turned 7 or so, we were car bombed. That stuck out.
And have them share their love of words.
Sometimes I wonder, do you ever think of me?
A
A thin broth of moonlight caught in the trees spreads across the garden brush, so one side of every stick shimmers while the other sides melt into one another, a mass grave of cherry, pear, and pine.
For the Love of Words at 7 p.m. on Thursdays.
There's a storm.
Join me, Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, to explore the town of Easton and its interesting, engaging, ordinary, and extraordinary people, and meet a smorgasbord of guests, including artists, authors, musicians, business owners, community organizations, clergy, local leaders, etc., etc., etc. Community Forum at 3 p.m. on Thursdays and 1:30 p.m. on Saturdays. See you then.
Hi, sports fans. Eastern Community Access Television, that's ECAT, your place for all of Ames high school sports. How about football, hockey, basketball, soccer, gymnastics, swimming, wrestling, lacrosse, field hockey, and more? Join us on Comcast 97 and Verizon Channel 23. Welcome back to Service Matters. Dave Clifton here along with Val Perry. We've been talking Rotary today, and of course we're forever grateful to 1.3 million Rotarians around the world, represented in over 200 countries. We appreciate all the good things they do, including eradicating polio, and that's what they hope to accomplish at some point in time. So I did ask that question before we went on break about the most embarrassing thing that happened to you folks, and I could certainly start it off. I remember being in church one day, and they were passing the basket around, and I was sitting not too far from the back, so by the time I got the basket, it was pretty heavy. And it was during the holiday season, so people were reaching in their pockets a little deeper. So when I got the basket, I put my donation in, and I went to pass it to the next person, and I dropped the basket. Everything went all over me, all over the floor, and I yelled out, "Wow!" Everybody turned around and they looked at me, and I was kind of embarrassed. I had to pick up all the change. It was all over people sitting beside me, all over the floor. And finally, I was able to pick everything up, and even the priest stopped his, whatever he was doing, looking back to see if everything was okay. Did somebody pass out or something? But it was a little embarrassing, but those things happen.
Correct.
And how about you, Carl?
Well, I don't know if I should even say this one on the air, but this was many, many, many years ago. Of course, we all have different embarrassing moments, but the one that always comes to mind was when I first started in the insurance industry. We had a little get-together at my district manager's home. And I had never been to his home before, and I was brand new, just graduated out of college, setting myself up in the life insurance business. And we were gathering around the table. There was like a buffet and different things like that. And I had never met his wife, Diane, before. And we chatted a little bit, and all of us, I met her, and she was at the table, and I happened to go behind her and put my hand right, and she was a little, let me say, plump. So, and I happened to put my hand right on her belly, and I said, "Well, when is the baby due?" She said, "I'm not pregnant."
Wow. Can you top that, Val?
What a way to make an impression with your new boss.
I could probably tap in on calls, because I had someone ask me one time when I was due, and I wasn't. So that's kind of embarrassing too.
Exactly.
I was at a function once, and the speaker was there to recognize someone, and he proceeded to describe the person, and he said while he was describing the person, "I'd like to have that person stand up as soon as you know that it's you. So he gave his presentation, and he started to mention things that related to me. I got some of the same awards that the person who got it. So at some point in time, I said, well, that's me.
Mm-hmm.
So I stood up. And then as he continued to speak, I saw someone else in the audience standing up. So I tried to slip down to my seat again and sat down. And the person next to me said, nice try, Dave. And it turned out it was someone else. And the speaker, after he made the presentation, said, by the way, there's another person in the audience, and he had me stand up. But I was a little embarrassed, and I think all of us would be. But the fact that he asked the person to stand up if you recognize what he was saying. And we were both from New England.
Yep.
We were both from Massachusetts. And anyways, that kind of thing happens.
A lot of similarities for sure.
But tell me about your profession, Carl. I know that you're in the financial business.
There are a lot of people that take a look at the financial business and some of the prototypes and some of the people that are in the business. After being in the business, believe it or not, this June is 48 years for me being in the business, and started out in the life insurance business. But it's basically evolved for me as far as more trying to help people out to understand how money works, how they can use whatever funds that they have to be able to maintain a lifestyle. Because really, when you take a look at any financial wherewithal, it's about how do we maintain our lifestyle, the type of home that we have, the type of car that we drive, the food that we eat, the education that we have, the clothes we wear, and so forth. And one of the goals that I have is to teach younger people to start out earlier to understand that because so many people today, and I know it is difficult, especially with the inflation being what it is today, but every dollar that they earn, to at least set aside and pay themselves first, maybe 10% of that. So if they're earning $300 or $400 a week, to take some portion of that and set that aside for what I call future lifestyle. Because so many people today get to be, and I've seen it, 35, 45, 55, 60 years old, they walk into my office and they have a 401k that has, let's say, $60,000 or $70,000. And I said, that's fantastic, but how is that going to be able to sustain you for the next 20 years of your life? But most people never talk to anyone about what that 401k or the 403b or whatever retirement vehicle that you might use, never explain how, when people are younger, what that vehicle, if you will, is going to supply. And if you knew that you were making, and I'm just going to use, let's say, $40,000 a year, and you were going to work for 40 years, during your lifetime, you're going to earn $1.6 million. And when I tell people that, they're kind of surprised that $1.6 million actually went through their hands, and they've saved $80,000, $90,000 out of that $1.6 million. So the education, for me, it's more about educating people on different strategies and how money works and how it can work for them rather than against them. But so many times people, and again, life happens to all of us. We save money. You have the savers that save money and then they want to buy a car or something, and then they spend down, and they're always climbing the mountain, and then they spend down, they're always back at point zero. And then you have the borrowers. They borrow the money and then they pay back the loan, and then they're at line zero again, and they never really get above or below. So I think educating the youth today, if you will, and when I say youth, I'm talking about maybe someone that's graduating from college or even before that in high school, to start to save nickels and dimes and pennies. One of the statements that when I first started, I started out with Equitable Life way back in 1975. This big gentleman, John, came up to me, and he was a big guy, and he came up to me and he walked up to my desk. He had a southern drawl, and he said, "Carl," he says, "I want you to remember one thing." He says, "Peanuts feed the elephants." So the small things in life get to be big, and sometimes we don't think about that. We think about the fact that everything has to be big. But if you're younger or whatever, you start to save a little bit early from every paycheck, it all adds up.
Well said. I want you to hold that thought. We're going to take another break. I'm Dave Clifton here along with Val Perry. You're listening to Service Matters here on WPRO. Thank you, ECAT, for televising our radio show. We'll be right back.
Hi, I'm Ron Van Dam. I've been in radio for 3 decades now and have been doing a daily podcast-style show for a few years. But once a week, I come to the ECAT studio where they give me wine and cheese. Hey, welcome to the program. How are you? Good to be with you. Hey, you're looking good today. Thanks for being here. Make yourself comfortable. This won't take too long. It'll be a little bit painful for you, but in the long run, it's important for you to go through this. And I do a TV version of the podcast. I talk about what's going on in the world and in the area and give my opinions on things. That's both something to look forward to and also a warning. So tune in to see me move my mouth while I talk. Who knows? We might have something in common. Probably not, but you never know. Catch my show here, The Ron Van Dam Show, right here on ECAT.
It's the Ron Van Dam Show. Hold on tight, things can get a bit weird, if you like that sort of thing.
Welcome to Easton News. I'm Abby Kitchenham.
And I'm Jack Ryan, and together we bring you everything you need to know about Easton, including politics.
The annual town election is scheduled for Saturday, April 22nd, 2023.
Community events.
Be Inspired. Counseling presents a parent and child coping workshop centered around a new year and new beginnings.
And sports.
Pressure builds diamonds, so we live by that every day of practice, going into every game.
With APCSM guest segment Pet of the Week.
Hi, I'm Katie with the Animal Protection Center, and today we have a little Iris.
With help from special correspondent Wyatt Fain. Join us
for Easton News.
Playing 6 o'clock, Friday, Saturday, and Sundays.
Don't have time to sit down and watch ECAT programs? Don't worry, ECAT has got you covered. That's right, ECAT has
podcasts!
ECAT Podcast Channel has your favorite shows that you could listen to. Whether you want to chill and listen to the Ron Van Dam Show and hear him talk about what's bothering him that day, or the show hosted by local legends Stephanie Weinstein and Meredith Keach, where they talk about anything and everything, or take a listen to the weekly news hosted by Jack Ryan and Abby Kitchenham. Stay tuned in with Tiger Talk hosted by Oliver Ames students. Community Forum is where their host Priscilla talks about all things Easton. Easton residents can also find government meetings about various topics. You can find the podcast on Podbean and all your favorite podcast platforms. Just by searching ECAT or the ECAT podcast, you can find it all. The ECAT podcast channel is powered by Podbean, so either in the car ride or walking around town, you can always catch what's going on with ECAT. Happy listening!
Welcome back to another segment of Service Matters. I'm Dave. Val is here, my co-host. And we have a special guest who joins us. He's a Rotary Past District Governor from District 7910. I consider that to be central Massachusetts. 7950, we're kind of on the south side, and we're joined with Rhode Island. And then there's the North Shore side, which is District 7930. And of course, they go all the way up to New Hampshire. But we so excited about serving as Rotarians over the years. Val, you've served as a club president 5 times. You've been a district governor. You've been on district committees. And right now, not just the pandemic, but membership has been affected. And that seems to be one of our goals, not just in your club, but Carl's club as well as mine. And of course, we hope to eradicate polio in the world. We're down to single-digit numbers. Go ahead, Val.
Yeah, well, membership is very important in Rotary, just like any other organization. You know, people leave, and for whatever reason, we are getting new members in. My club is getting a new member in. My sister's club is getting a few members in, and some of the other clubs that I know of too. So we do bring members in. I know one of the things that we always say, what we have to do is to keep the members that we have. And sometimes people get older and we lose some of them. But membership is very important. And also the programs, naturally the polio, we're close to eradicating it, but we're not there yet. And this is a goal of Rotary. And I know that there's other programs that Rotary takes on, for instance, Alzheimer's, which we're involved with the Alzheimer's action group. And that's a very, very important thing. And the president's theme, his concern this year is mental health. And that's something that's very, very important, especially in today's world. There's so many people that have mental health issues and all. And this is something that I think we can help by having programs and giving out information about mental health. So there's a lot of good things that we can do.
Well said, Val. And I know that hats off to Rotary International and the Rotary Foundation for taking this challenge on that we've been dealing with for years. Special thank you to Bill Gates Jr. for his healthy donations to help provide the vaccine. We also would like to express our appreciation to the World Health Organization, to UNICEF, Centers for Disease Control and Prevention, for kind of guiding us as Rotarians and pointing us in the right direction. We've had Mike McGovern on the air with us, who heads up polio. He's, of course, is from the Maine area here in New England. And is that one of the priorities, certainly, of your district, Rotarians and Rotary clubs, to do what they can to get us to the finish line to eradicate polio?
Absolutely, Dave and Val. And, the fact that the collaboration, and that's one of the things I think that we've seen in recent years, is the collaboration between organizations. You mentioned earlier the Lions Club, Kiwanis, and different things. And before we were parochial about different things that we did, and said, well, Rotary does this and the Lions, and sometimes people wouldn't even talk to each other because they were from different service organizations and so forth. So I think opening up the opportunity to collaborate, like what we did with the Bill Gates Foundation, the Centers for Disease Control, UNICEF, and the other organizations. And I see so many times in local communities where, like in Sturbridge, the Rotary Club and the Lions Club sponsor a wonderful evening out on the common with some fantastic music and so forth, and work together, because you know what? It's all about community and trying to help out, whether it be in mental health or drilling a well somewhere on the other side of the world where people, we think, it's amazing when I turn on the water in the morning, because I've been on different Rotary water projects. It's so easy to think when you turn on that faucet that you expect water to come out. But yet, almost 40% of some areas of the world don't have that opportunity. When they don't have a faucet, number one, they've got to go to a well or different things like that. But imagine, in some of the people in the United States, when they had a hurricane and so forth, they open up the faucet and brown water comes out. And that, we don't expect things like that, but so many places around the world don't have the opportunity for a simple thing like clean water. When I went to do a Habitat for Humanity, we collaborated on building some homes down in Mexico and so forth. We were in the rainforest, and it amazed me that the community within that little area, they had no football, or the children, the teenagers had nothing. What they did to kick things around, they had a 2-liter Coca-Cola bottle that they used as a ball, but they were so grateful for the little things. But we have people today that are 8, 9 years old. They've got cell phones and they've got automated type of things and so forth. But yet there are so many unfortunate people throughout the world, and there's opportunity to be able to say, how important is it for a simple thing like clean water? And every time when I turn on that faucet, it amazes me. I still think about the fact that thank you for when I turn on that faucet that there's water that comes out.
Interesting you should say that. When I was in India, I traveled around to different parts of the country, and I saw the poverty, and I saw kids in a schoolyard playing with a beach basket, playing hoop.
Yeah.
And I thought I was back in Springfield during the early days when they learned how to start basketball. But it's amazing. We're all in the helping people business. And that's what Rotary clubs do. That's what the Lions do. They're very much into research. And I know that we have a good-sized Lions club here in the town of Easton, a community that's rich in history. They have, I think, the largest in the area. And they do all kinds of projects here in the town. And ECAT is used to covering a lot of their events.
Mm-hmm.
So I say hats off to the Lions Club. And Easton, Massachusetts, not too far from where we all live, but the fact is that I'm now a resident of Easton and very proud to be involved in their tricentennial celebration. They will be celebrating their 300th anniversary in 2025. So
nice.
I'm happy to be involved. Tell us something about your Rotary Club that you belong to. How long have you been a member of that club?
Well, I actually started out in 1993 as part of the Webster Dudley Rotary Club. And the Webster Dudley Rotary Club unfortunately disbanded a couple of years after I became district governor. So the club that actually proposed me as being a district governor and helped sponsor me to be one was the Sturbridge Rotary Club. At the time, I had an office in Southbridge, which is the neighboring town, so I joined the Sturbridge Rotary Club at that point in time, and I'm still a member of that club.
And we certainly thank you for your service. We're going to take our final break. When we come back, Val and I have a lot of good things to say about the Navigant Credit Union, our sponsor for over 10 years, and we appreciate them being very much into talking about good things that happen in local communities here in southern New England. I'm Dave. Val is with me. We have a guest who's a giant in Rotary and, of course, the financial industry. We'll be right back after these important messages.
Here we go. My name is Harrison Young, and after 13 years of talk show experience, I seek to bring you the best in interviews with some of the very best guests around, including, and here we are, experts.
I've seen thousands of demons actually come out of the mirror one time.
Wow. Musical guests and artists.
If I say how I feel, would you really listen?
And interesting characters of all types.
I threw that kid across the classroom. Look, he didn't try that ever again.
Wow. Join me at Topic Time on your Easton cable station anytime they want to play it. And what I understand, that's quite a few times a day. And I love it.
Don't have time to sit down and watch ECAT programs? Don't worry, ECAT has got you covered. That's right, ECAT has
podcasts.
Yes. ECAT Podcast Channel has your favorite shows that you could listen to. Whether you want to chill and listen to the Ron Van Dam Show and hear him talk about what's bothering him that day, or the show hosted by local legends Stephanie Weinstein and Meredith Keach, where they talk about anything and everything, or take a listen to the weekly news hosted by Jack Ryan and Abby Kitchenham. Stay tuned in with Tiger Talk hosted by Oliver Ames students. Community Forum is where their host Priscilla talks about all things Easton. Easton residents can also find government meetings about various topics. You can find the podcast on Podbean and all your favorite podcast platforms. Just by searching ECAT or the ECAT podcast, you can find it all. The ECAT podcast channel is powered by Podbean, so either in the car ride or walking around town, you can always catch what's going on with ECAT. Happy listening!
In 2023, Easton is a tight-knit community of 25,000 people. But with the hustle and bustle of modern life, it's easy to forget our past. A time when Easton's population was 6,000.
Everybody knew who everybody
everyone
was.
And there was respect.
There was respect for everyone.
When kids enjoyed great freedom and independence.
Everybody was poor at today's standards. But we all were in the same boat, and we enjoyed life.
So join me, Priscilla Almquist-Olsen, as I explore what makes Easton so very special with some of its lifetime residents.
I think Easton has so much to offer, and if you're living in a community, you have to know it.
Watch Growing Up in Easton Tuesdays at 7 p.m. and Friday at 9 p.m. See you then.
Hi, I'm Jen from Fantasy Crafts. Turn your average household items into fun for the whole family. Let your imagination run wild. It was my decision. You be quiet over there. Fantasy Crafts playing Monday at 3 p.m., Wednesday at 1 p.m., only at ECAT.
Hi, sports fans. Easton Community Access Television, that's ECAT, your place for Oliver Ames High School sports. How about football, hockey, basketball, soccer, gymnastics, swimming, wrestling, lacrosse, field hockey, and more? Join us on Comcast 97 and Verizon Channel 23. Welcome back to the final segment of Service Matters. I'm Dave Clifton. Val Perry is here. And we also have Kyle, who's a financial, I consider him to be an expert in that field. He's also a longtime Rotary leader, and I'm not sure of all the other 12 things that he's involved in, but he's a very busy guy. Val, we are certainly forever grateful to the Navigant Credit Union for sponsoring our show. They certainly have about 23 branches scattered throughout the Ocean State and Rhode Island. And when you walk into one of the credit unions, you'll see the smile on the employees' faces. They have done so many different things, Carl, in local communities. You figure 23 communities.
Nice.
And they're reaching down to do what they can to help people in need. They help with sports programs. They are doing just about everything. And Val and I were talking one day that every time we pick up a newspaper or something, you'll see that they're sponsoring this or sponsoring that. So they are very much into community service. What can you say about the Navigant Credit Union, Val?
No, they're absolutely involved in the community. Here in East Providence, where I live, every time there's a festival or anything, you always see the Navigant Credit Union sign. Little League fields, and they sponsor so much, and they're so good, and we have branches here in East Providence, and they're wonderful people. They're wonderful to work with.
So we thank them. We thank Tim Draper, and we thank all the offices at their corporate office, and we appreciate them sponsoring it. Our guest, Kaliszewski, is the way we pronounce his name. When you were a kid, did they put that name on the back of a jersey?
They didn't, but there was one time when I was making a telephone call, when I was talking about getting appointments, I made a telephone call, and a little child answered the telephone, and he said he could tell he was young, and he said, "May I ask who's calling?" And I said, "Carl Kaliszewski." And this was back in the 70s, okay, probably 77, 78. And all of a sudden, the phone dropped on the floor. And I heard the kid go running, "Mommy, Mommy, Mommy, Carl Yastrzemski's on the phone."
Yeah, that does sound that way, doesn't it?
So,
if somebody wanted some financial advice or counsel, would you be willing to give out your number for people to call?
Well, one of the things that everybody is on the internet today, and as I mentioned before, it's all about education. We do have a great website with information on it. It's called 511 Financial, 511financial.com.
Why don't you repeat that?
Yeah, 511financial.com. It's 511 Financial is the name of our organization. And really, it's about education and strategies for maintaining your lifestyle, because that's really what money allows people to do, whether it be during their working years or during their retirement years.
Thank you very much, Carl. And I wanted to give a pat in the back. I don't know his name, but a young person was coming up the street, and he saw a woman struggling with her bundles. And he must have been maybe a freshman or a sophomore. And he went over to the woman. He was running, and he stopped, and he asked the woman if she needed help. He carried her bundles across the street. And you don't see a lot of that.
No.
The young people, they do what they can to help.
Yeah.
And sometimes they look for someone to tell them what to do. But this young fella just decided that he was going to help this senior adult as she crossed the street. I wish I had his name. I wish I could call him up. I wish I could tell his parents how proud they should be for him to do something. And that's just something that we like to talk about on the air here on Service Matters. I always say to people, and I know Val's heard it a lot, the best way to find yourself is to lose yourself in the service of helping others. That's what Rotarians do. That's what members of the local Lions Club do. The Quanians do it. And even the folks who go to Toastmasters.
Knights of Columbus.
They now jump into community service. They do things. And this is an opportunity for us, Val and I, to give a shout out to all the organizations. I ask you to continue to do so. How important it is to talk about good things. We have the opportunity when someone wants to talk about bad things, is maybe push a red button and thank them for calling. But we're in the business of talking about good things, positive things. We need people to be talking more about that.
Correct.
How do you feel about that, Carl?
Absolutely. One of the fabulous things about Rotary is, it's not only the communities we serve, we also support and empower each other as members. We create a safe space for our members by bringing in someone that can be authentic. And we show each other comfort and care as members of our own clubs.
Well, I think the time has come for us to wrap up our show. Val, we look forward to coming back again next week to entertain our audience out there, whether it be in Connecticut, Massachusetts, the entire state of Rhode Island. We got a good reach out. I'd like to give a special thank you on behalf of Val and myself to Carl Kaliszewski. Certainly we thank Brett Ferruccio, our producer back in Providence, and we thank Adam for pushing the right buttons here. Adam Carrero here at ECAST, Eastern Community Access Television. In the background, you may hear some music. What a wonderful world. And what a wonderful world it is because of people like Carl who step up to do what he can, and he's done it for almost 50 years, doing what he can in his business and, of course, in his Rotary life. So I say to you folks out there, go forth to serve. Do it with a smile on your face. And if you're going to do something good to help someone out, do it with the dignity that it deserves. Have a terrific weekend. You got the final comment. Go ahead, Val, take it away.
Have a good week, everyone. Stay safe.